central tendency and measures of dispersion. Before I get there, one question in the back.
I just wanted to ask, in terms of the presentation of the results, should you do a descriptive for every single question that you have in the questionnaire? And in saying that when it comes to the description, should you have a graph or a figure for each question along with the table?
No, analysis paralysis immediately I'm hearing. You don't do it for every question in the questionnaire. I'm going to show you. You remember we categorized everything. We took it down to categorization. So if we are looking at pay, we know it's 1, 4, 7, 10, 13. Now imagine if we go into question 1, how many said strongly disagree, how many said disagree, how many said neither agree, how many said agree, how many said strongly agree. Then we go to question 4, question 7, question 10, question 13, boredom, analysis paralysis, telling too much of nitty-gritty things that are going to mean nothing. Okay? What you should ideally do is look at descriptive analysis in terms of the means. What is a mean response? And then, if that mean is far too low, you use the 1 to 5 point scale, and that mean is coming out 1 to 5. Remember, it should be closer to 5 if there's a positive feeling. And that mean is coming out to 1.035. 1.035 against 5, alarm bells ringing. Now you need to know for that very poor result, what went wrong. That's when you want to do deeper analysis and see your 5 items, and you know this item here on pay not being consistent, that one is coming out so glaringly bad, then you would report it. Okay? So you won't just report every little detail. You will give the means, except that I am coming to that. Give your mean, and if your mean is glaringly bad, then you need to do deeper analysis. Okay? So otherwise you're going to report unnecessarily. Now the 2 aspects of descriptive stats we look at is measures of central tendency, which is a very general way, a summarized way of looking at statistics. That's looking at your mean, your median, and your mode. Your mean is your average. So if you wrote an exam, or if you did a module and you've got 3 marks, you'll add the 3 marks and divide by 3, you got your average mark. Okay? So the mean is the average response for a dimension. So if we said 1, 4, 7, 10, 13 measures pay, what is the mean response for pay? It would be against the maximum scale of 5. Okay? The median is the middle score value. If we say we've got 12, 18, 26, 32, 39, then we've got to arrange it in ascending or descending order. I've done it in the interest of time. And the median becomes the middle score value, 26, 2 on either side. The mode is the most appearing score value. So if we said males are 1 and females are 2, and I go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, we know immediately 1 is the mode. Okay, the most frequently occurring was 1. Measures of dispersion are, and the mean, median, and mode are looked at in terms of the normal distribution curve, where it is believed that at the center point, the mean, the median, and the mode are all equal. Okay? If you have to fold over a normal distribution curve, it will exactly match each other. It will fold exactly identical. Okay? So this is a bell-shaped curve with a center point where the mean, median, and mode are equal. What's the purpose of this? It shows the spreadability of the scores, and here it's a normal distribution curve. But if you aspect in your analysis is your mean. So just to go further, this is the kind of way. Now remember, you don't have to do any calculations. That's why I'm not doing calculations with you. This is all done through statistical packages. You must only be able to tell, this is the statistic I'm using here, then it gets churned out and processed, and then you must be able to analyze the statistic. So I'm not going into calculations because we are not going to calculate it. You're going to tell your statistician, or you're going to sit at your SPSS and ask for the results, doing the right things, and then you're going to know how to interpret those results. Okay? So when you said you want the descriptive stats for pay, promotion, and working conditions, you've got the descriptive stats thrown at you. Okay? The question is, how much of all these stats that the statistician or the program prints for you gives you? If we look at the mean there, 3.5 for job satisfaction, overall 3.5, pay 3.543, promotion 3.313, working conditions 3.441, okay? We've got the overall mean scores. We are going to look at those overall mean scores in terms of our maximum attainable score of 5, because we used a 1 to 5 point Likert scale. We can see there that the mean for overall job satisfaction is 3.5. I think a fairly good organization if you got 3.5 against 5, okay? If we look at the influencing variables, what are people most so-called satisfied with? Pay, then working conditions going in descending order of the mean, and then promotion opportunities. Because pay is 3.5, working conditions 3.4, promotion opportunities 3.3. Now, when presenting your results, you don't have to provide all of this. What you really need to provide is your mean critical, your 95% confidence interval, that's your lower bound, your upper bound, and invariably, your mean is going to fall within that range, okay? Your standard deviation to see how scores deviate. Your minimum value in that 1 to 5 point scale, what was the lowest that anyone rated pay, right, for job satisfaction? Minimum was 1. You might find in an organization where people are all satisfied, you're not getting that 1, right? The minimum would be 2, for example, or 3. And your maximum, what was the maximum score that you did obtain? 5, okay? This is what you should extract from the table. Don't put in the skewness, the kurtosis, and all of that, which you don't have to really worry yourself with right now, okay? Present these statistics. Once you present that statistics, interpret it. Interpret it first in terms of the descending mean score value. If you look at it, the descending influence, pay, followed by working conditions, followed by promotion opportunities. However, there's a gap. There's a gap between 3.5 and 5, and you want to know, what is it about pay that they're not happy with that didn't reach a 5? That's when you'd go into the deeper analysis on what Ravanya asked about those item analysis. That's when you look at the different ones and you'd say, hey, I got a 3.5 on pay against 5. That is showing room for improvement. That is showing a gap, right? I want to know where that gap lies. So you go to question 1 or item 1 under pay, and you look at your strongly disagrees. What were people so aggrieved about? It might not be anything major, so 1 is fine, 4 seems to be fine. In 7, you say, hey, people are finding in 7 that pay is not equivalent to effort. That's your alarm bell. So when you report that mean, you need to justify why that mean is lower than 5. And now you go back there and you say, sorry, this particular item is where staff, so many percent of staff disagree that pay is equivalent to effort. That in your analysis, in your interpretation, is hitting an alarm bell and a room for recommendation in the end, where you're going to say that reward systems and structures need to take cognizance of the effort that employees put in. So you've now identified a potential fault here between effort to reward. Okay? How did you know that? Because you looked at the mean is 3.5, the maximum is 5, there's a deviation, you came to do deeper analysis. You're not reporting, somebody said this, somebody said that, that's boring, monotonous analysis, paralysis. You're finding where the fault is, you're reporting and justifying the lower mean delta. You do the same then for promotion opportunities. You go back, why 3.3 against 5? Let's go back to the items of promotion that was 2, 5, 8, 11, and 14. Let's see where a problem in how performance is perceived exists in that organization. And then you do the same with working conditions. The question is, do you only report what's negative? No. You also say what's good in the organization. It might just be that this 3.5 is 3.5 because everybody is happy that the pay in our organization is market related. Okay? So you will report the positives. You'll say, in the study it was found that, or table 6.1 indicates that pay is seen as the most important influencer on job satisfaction. However, so many percent on job satisfaction, so many percent indicated that pay is market related. However, so many percent believe that pay is not equivalent to effort. So you say your mean, you'll interpret it, you give what has caused a good mean, and then you'll say what has affected that mean. So in other words, your interpretation of the mean, the positives, the negatives. Are there any questions? Everybody understand? So basically we're doing an overall analysis and then the deeper analysis. You are not going to report item by item by item. And you're not going to take it further and for every item go put a bar chart or a pie chart. That's going to frustrate the external examiner exorbitantly. To see figures all over, little tables all over. You need overall impressions that say a lot. You're identifying immediately. These two are not linking up. Pay and rewards are not linking. That's our problem. You're going to carry that problem into your flow chart, in your obstacles and recommendations on how to overcome the obstacle. That's what your study should throw out. Okay? So that is your into key themes that came out, right? That within the pay, we looked at all those aspects I told you, but people feel that pay is not related to inflation rate. So apart from the 5 we looked at, now these people are starting to look at it in inflation rate. That will be categorized into qualitative analysis below your quantitative analysis.
Just a follow-up question, would that grant your study to be a mixed approach, or would you still say that on your research methodology that you are doing a quantitative study?
No, if you've got a lot of qualitative questions, I'll put it differently. If you've got a lot of open-ended questions in your questionnaire, it's a mixed approach. If you just got that one in the end, that's a quantitative approach. Okay? All right, that's your descriptive analysis. Are there any questions on descriptive? Okay, so we're not going to see an overkill with too many tables, too many graphs for every item, which makes your your results, presentation of results chapter look exorbitantly and unnecessarily long. Okay? Because then you're going to struggle to find out what was the key element. The external examiner is going to say, so what? Okay? It's not going to throw it out. Make sure that you don't go for an overkill. Now we've approached the entire study from a quantitative approach. It means that at some point in time, we'd want to use not just inferential stats, but not just descriptive but also inferential stats. Now remember, inferential stats means that you had a population that was large, right? And from there, for example, well, not necessarily large, but for example 5,000, and that was our population. From there, you've used a sample size computation or formula, or you've used a table like Saccharins, which told you what would be the corresponding sample, okay? And I don't have the table in front of me, but suppose it's 398. Now you've got a population and you've got a sample. But who are you giving the questionnaires to? You are giving the questionnaires to the sample. When you interpret the results, you are inferring the results from the sample to the population. And therefore we say we are using inferential statistics. Because the inferential statistics tell us with what degree of certainty can we conclude that whatever results we have from the sample can be generalized to the population. Okay? So we are looking at using inferential statistics, which will give us the statistic and it will give us a corresponding p-value. The corresponding p-value tells us the probability at which the results can be inferred from the sample to the population. Okay? Now, when you use inferential stats, they stand in the air unless you have hypotheses. You need to hypothesize in order to test. You are saying that there is either no relationship. Null says there is no. Okay? So null given by H naught is saying there is no significant relationship between pay and job satisfaction. Or you might want to state in the alternate because you know there is a significant relationship between pay and job satisfaction. So you'd want to state it in the alternate. You don't have to state both. Okay? So null hypothesis says there's no. Alternate hypothesis says there is. You should go with what you believe for that context, for what you believe in your literature, what has been surfacing when you did your literature. Okay? You can also state it as directional and non-directional hypotheses. For example, male employees have a higher level of job satisfaction than female employees. Okay? Male or female employees are more satisfied that pay in the organization is suitable compared to male employees. So you can also make it directional, where you believe that one is more than the other. Alright? But to have inferential stats and not to create hypotheses means there's something missing. Why did you do inferential stats if you wasn't going to test a hunch, if you wasn't going to test a hypothesis, a feeling? You did inferential stats because you want to test a feeling that you have, a hunch, a conjectural statement. Okay? Now, as I said earlier, it's almost impossible to cover all the different statistics, so my plan was to cover correlation, chi-square, t-test, ANOVA, and multiple regression. The first one looks at the correlation, is one variable related to another? Okay? And we want to see here, and remember if you're looking correlation, what level of analysis are we on? Nominal, ordinal, interval ratio? Interval. It has to be interval. So you can't use the statistic unless you've designed your questionnaire already on an interval scale. Okay? So you're looking at, in correlation, whether one variable is related to the other. You want to know, is pay related to job satisfaction? But it means that you've got to have a 1 to 5 point scale here, and you have to have a 1 to 5 point scale there, because we are correlating two variables on an interval scale. And we can only do a bivariate in this case. Bivariate means one pair of variables at a time. You can't do with this correlation more than one pair of variables at a time. Okay? So it's used when you have two interval or ratio, because ratio is more sophisticated. But of course, in our studies, we generally use interval. We've got to state the level of significance. At whether are you testing it at the 1% level of significance, where you're only allowing 1% error of margin of error. Okay? 5% level of significance, you're allowing a 5% margin of error. Okay? So the level of significance tells you what margin of error are you allowing. The answer you get will be a correlation from -1 to 1. The stronger that value, the more the two variables correlate. Okay? But whenever we look at variables like this, we said we've got to state the hypothesis. We've got to interpret that result. Now suppose we looked at pay and we looked at its influence on job satisfaction. Okay? And we got a correlation in R value equal to 0.798. Okay? Every value has to come with a probability of error. Okay? The extent to which we can infer from the sample to the population. And let's assume that is 0,0001. Let's start with the R value in the interpretation. We've now correlated pay and job satisfaction. We got a correlation value of 0.798. Go to point 2. It's telling us direction, it's telling us strength, it's telling us significance. Let's look at direction. If there is a positive sign in the front, which is taken for granted if you don't have a negative sign, so that's positive, it means an increase in pay is leading to an increase in job satisfaction. Or a decrease in pay is leading to a decrease in job satisfaction. Both are moving in the same direction. Okay? Therefore, it is a direct relationship. In terms of direction, it's direct. If, on the other hand, we had a value being 0.789, it's saying an increase in pay is leading to a decrease in job satisfaction, which can't be true. You've got to check your results. Something's wrong. Because people are getting paid, they're not going to be less satisfied. Okay? So that negative is saying that when one increases, the other drops. When one decreases, the other increases. The positive is saying when one increases, the other increases. When one decreases, the other decreases. In other words, they move in the same direction. So this R value is telling us about direction. It's also telling us about strength. The closer to the 1 that this value is, the stronger is the relationship between pay and job satisfaction. Okay? So if we look at this, there's a fairly strong relationship between pay and job satisfaction. More than that, is the result significant? And how do we know that? We know that in terms of the p-value. If p is less than 0,05, then there is a significant relationship. Now, if we look at our p-value, it's 0,001, and 0,001 is less than 0,05. So there is a significant relationship between pay and job satisfaction. Okay? But remember, we only took one pair of variables at a time. How do you present this? When you have done your study, when you are presenting your results, always give your hypothesis first. So your hypothesis 1 says there is a significant relationship between pay and job satisfaction. You then presented your table, and then you'd say table so and so indicates that there is a significant relationship between pay and job satisfaction. What is the decision rule? It is significant, that means you accept the hypothesis. Okay? If it wasn't, that means you reject the hypothesis. So when the steps to follow, you always state the hypothesis, you present the table of results, you interpret it, and you apply the decision rule, the decision rule being 0,05. To see that you have understood it, I've just put up some results. Let's look at the first column. The first column is looking at the relationship between pay and job satisfaction. Okay, remember I created that as we went along. Do these things have a pointer? On that. Okay, I actually want to come here. If we look at the column pay and job satisfaction, 0.781 is the strength of that relationship. Okay? But it is significant at 0.005, which is at 0.000, which is less than 0,01. So the relationship between pay and job satisfaction is significant at the 1% level. Understood? Because 0,000 is less than 0,01. In which case you would accept the relationship. Just to see that you understand, if I had to ask you, what about the relationship between promotion opportunities and job satisfaction? Comment on the relationship between promotion opportunities and job satisfaction. That's this set. Is it significant?
Yes.
Yes, why? At what level is it significant? 1%? What is the strength of that relationship? Very strong, because it's closest to 1, it's 0.845.